Hello, and welcome to the Be Purely Balanced podcast. I'm Dr. Crystal Couture, and today I'm here with Dr. Ryan Bailey. Ryan is a doctor of physical therapy, earning her degree from the University of New England. She is a board-certified women's health physical therapist and prenatal and postpartum exercise specialist with training in Pilates. Ryan has extensive training in maternal pelvic health and exercise through the Pelvic Rehabilitation Institute and countless years of mentoring and work with women of all ages. Ryan is also a special interest in family dynamics, early childhood development, earning her bachelor's degree in family studies from the University of New Hampshire. Ryan is a mom of two, and she lives with her family here in New Hampshire. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi, Crystal. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you on the show today. And our topic, of course, we're talking about pelvic health, which is your specialty.
Yes, it is. Everything pelvis.
So pelvic health is perhaps a bit of a taboo. Perhaps some people haven't heard about it, and some people may have no idea what it is. Some people may have a negative connotation about pelvic health. So let's just dive in. What is pelvic health?
Pelvic health is just being able to know how to functionally use the pelvis that we all have, our balancing for what we have to do throughout the day within our pelvis. And if we don't recognize what is happening there, then it can really throw us off in terms of, our going to the bathroom and how we feel, when we're pregnant, or how we feel as a mom. A lot of it comes from the pelvis. And if something is off, it really can hinder how we feel.
Yeah. How did you get into working with the pelvis? How was your journey toward pelvic health?
So my journey started when I was a senior, actually, in undergrad, when my dad passed away unexpectedly. And I decided to take a completely different route of where my career was heading. And so I really liked the aspects of physical therapy, the hands-on aspect and the educational aspect. And so I decided to pursue that. Once I was in grad school and, taken our courses as we do, there was a local PT who was a pelvic floor PT who came into one of our basic classes and did a really quick introduction to pregnancy and how PTs can help during that. And I was really intrigued. I thought I was going to be working with kids, and she just kind of got me hooked a little bit. So I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to learn more in the aspect of, well, maybe I can work with the moms and the kids. And so then I went on to my first internship in an outpatient clinic in California. And I worked with these two women, among other amazing patients, but these two women really stick out. And I really credit them for me continuing to pursue this. One woman, she was recently married in her 20s. So at the time we were pretty much the same age. And she had just had her second hip replacement because she had congenital hip dysplasia. And so she was seeing us really because of her hip replacement, but she was able to open up to me and share more of her concerns about being newly married and not having the flexibility and being really concerned about being intimate with her husband. Mm-hmm. And he, of course, was a gem, and, let her take her time and wasn't pushing her or anything, but she was concerned. And I said, let's figure this out. I know you're here for your hip, but let's figure this out. And so I did what research I could do. And we really worked hard on getting her hip, which is attached to her pelvis, both of her hips really, even though she was seeing me for just the one, ready to be able to be intimate. And she was just ecstatic. So that really got me more into the, okay, there's more to this that I didn't realize. And then the second woman, she was a new mom. And she was having severe pelvic pain. She couldn't pick up her son. She could barely walk with him. And being out in California, close to San Francisco, there were hills. And she wanted to get out and walk, but everywhere she went, there was a hill. So working with her, and again, figuring out how I could help her to be able to take care of her son and be mobile again, was just so powerful. And so they were really the ones who kind of solidified my interest. So then my last year in grad school, the same PT who came into that one course did a weekend long just kind of mini course for the students. And she nailed it for me. And so from there, I started off at a private practice, and I actually filled her position, the PT who came in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just kind of all, and I'm still friends with her. She had to move out of state, and I didn't know. And I just sent my resume over to the private practice that she works in. And she kind of went to her boss, "You need to hire this woman." And fortunately that happened, and they mentored me and set me on for more coursework. And that was then the beginning of my career.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's amazing. What a story. You know, I love, you know this about me, I love the emotional tie-in. So I want to go back to this moment at the beginning when you were in school, your senior year. Your dad passed away. And what's there? What happened in that time that caused that shift, that caused the catapulting? Because while, you know, these women were instrumental in bringing you into this career path, it seems like dad was there too. So what's there? Let's talk about it.
Oh, what's there? You may bring up some tears. So, you know, I was going on a path of potentially becoming a teacher, working with kids. And I wasn't actually sure what age I was going to be working with, because I love all ages. So I was still fortunately doing biology work too. So I wasn't totally steering really off path, but yeah, so he unexpectedly passed away the fall of my senior year. He had a heart attack, and we were all just floored. And I don't know what flipped the switch as to why all of a sudden I was like, I need to get into the medical field. And you would think that since he had a heart attack, I would say that I need to get into the medical field to prevent heart issues. And yeah, absolutely. But I kind of knew that that wasn't for me. I didn't want to go that deep into the medical field. And I feel like there were so many other medical issues with other family members that I partially have an aversion to hospitals. And so I kind of didn't want to have to get into that aspect of it. And I wanted to find just another route where I could help. And
that's the key right there, right?
Yeah.
Find the path where I can help.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when I was researching, again, I actually was thinking possibly going into osteopathic medicine, but then it was kind of the, I don't know if I want to help in that arena either. But I really liked the hands-on aspect of the osteopathic medicine. And I said, where else can that bring me? Yeah. And so when I started to research that, and University of New England came up for that in our area. Then physical therapy popped up with them. And I said, you know what, let me look into this. And I had gone through PT myself as a kid, really briefly, for an ankle thing. And then I had also worked with kids with disabilities in a pool setting. And I knew that, physical therapy could have been worked in that setting as well. And I really liked that. So just kind of diving into the research, it just kind of bubbled up to the surface to morphing all of the aspects of really what I liked, the hands-on piece, the educational piece. So that was bringing in kind of my undergrad of the education piece and working with family dynamics. And since I was thinking of working with kids, the aspect of the pediatric population and working with them. And really being able to prevent a lot of things. And that's what I really liked about and saw how I could help prevent a lot of issues that I knew my dad was trying to help himself with. He actually had his heart attack when he was out on his morning walk. So he was trying to stay healthy, but unfortunately genetics were against him. I think that was kind of the switch, is that, I want to be able to help in more ways than just the education.
Yeah.
And that's what brought me to PT.
Getting your hands onto the bodies, right?
Onto the bodies. Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised I was able to get through that without tears.
I felt it. I could really feel it. Yeah, it's beautiful. And what a special way to honor the subtle guidance and trust that, even through the research, you allowed space for the unknowns to sort of fall in and come together and really develop into who you are as a practitioner, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So furthermore, you've got two beautiful babies. I can say that because I know them both. So you have two beautiful babies, which means you've gone through the pregnancy, you've gone through the birth process. Your own stories of your birth process are really interesting, but why don't you take us through what your pelvic floor health or your pelvis health, however you want to talk about it, was through your pregnancies and how that worked and how you really used what you teach in that process?
Yeah. So I have a 4-year-old, she would say 4.5, and a 9-month-old. And yeah, I kind of almost two different experiences, which they always are. So 5 years ago now, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was working at actually an outpatient hospital setting and really busy. I was teaching a whole bunch of classes, exercise classes, and really having to kind of practice what I was preaching to my clients and to my patients. And I think that I was not necessarily ignorant to my own body, because I was definitely very aware. I'm very in tune with what's happening with my body. But it was still almost I got this. And I really had to slow myself down a lot because of my pelvic health. So I fortunately never had any bladder issues or bowel issues or anything like that, but I definitely had pain. Pain was an issue for me during my daughter, and that was because of past injuries that I've had creeping up, and I knew that that was probably going to happen. So I really had to be aware of how I was moving my body, how I was using my body, especially with when I was working, because of my pelvic girdle pain, and really being aware of really, doing my exercises and making sure that I was being safe. And as I was doing that, trying to prepare for birth, because I didn't know what to expect with my body. And knowing that it could be really bad because of this pelvic issue, or I could have an awesome experience. And so I worked really hard to maintain balance within my pelvis. I was able to run until I was 8 months pregnant with her. And it felt awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Then my birth with her was, I would have to say, textbook. I went into labor with her in the middle of the night, but I was able to work through the labor pains, go back to sleep in between. It was great. And then I literally had her 3 hours after arriving at the independent birth center that I had her at. Mm-hmm. The only non-textbook part of it was that the umbilical cord was around her neck. And so we had to kind of do a little bit more medical stuff because of that. But in terms of my body, it was, complete textbook, and amazing in terms of being able to really firsthand experience what I have heard so much from my patients, and finally go, oh yeah, okay. I get it now.
Okay, so before we move on to your little man, let's just hit on this point, because I think this is a point that many women, especially when they're pregnant for the first time, they think that this extreme pelvic pain or extreme pelvic clicking, popping, shifting, etc., is normal.
No.
No. Yeah. Not normal, ladies.
Not normal. Very common.
Yeah.
But not normal. No, definitely not. And I'm almost glad I experienced it, because I can say, this is why I experienced it, because of these past injuries that I had. This is why. And these habits that my body has formed, this is why. So if you're experiencing it, there are more reasons than just the pregnancy than why you're experiencing it. It could be, an accident or an injury from a childhood, like me. It could be habits of sitting at a desk all day. So there's so many more variables than just the pregnancy that can bring on that pain. And it is so not normal. And there are so many things that we can do to relieve it. But it does take work, and it takes dedication to do that. And it can be enjoyable, even if there is that possibility of it being there. So, yeah.
Great. So let's hear about your little man's story.
So then I have my 9-month-old, and with him, of course, now I'm running around after a 3-year-old and not doing all of the exercise classes and having a lighter schedule for work now that I own my own practice. And with him, it was just, I don't know, my body was kind of like, okay, we got this. Again, the pelvic girdle pain was a little bit of an issue, and I knew it probably was going to be, in a slightly different way this time, being a pubic pain versus the SI pain, which is, again, very common during second pregnancies. Mm-hmm. And so I just worked hard to keep it at bay. With him, I then had a home birth, which was just blissful, I'd have to say. I mean, being able to stay home and labor in my own bed and in my own bathroom, and then be able to just crawl right back into my own bed and snuggle up with him was amazing. And then have my daughter come downstairs, because this was in the middle of the night, come downstairs the next morning and just meet her baby brother and then crawl into bed with us. And it was snowing that next morning. And so we were just all hunkered down. It was just absolute bliss. And I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
But this time around, I definitely let my body do its thing. Comparing now, looking back, I can say that with her delivery, I was much more in my head. I was that scientist of, okay, let me get into this position. Let me do this. Instead of just letting my body dictate what it felt that it needed to do, which I was able to let it do the second time around. And so I really speak to that a lot to my patients now, just letting go. Let your body feel what it wants to feel and move the way it wants to move. Get out of your head. I really teach that it's okay to be loud. It's okay to feel weird. It's okay, no matter what setting you're in, to just be. And we work really hard to get out of the brain.
Yeah.
During those moments.
It's so important, and your story talking about Liam, I know the story because I remember getting the text message updates about the story and feeling so emotional and so proud of you for the process and everything, just feeling all that love. And it still brought tears to my eyes today, 9 months later, knowing the story. It's just so magical that you were able to let go of control in such a way. And I think that's a hard thing as a mom to do.
It's extremely hard for a mom, especially for a type A mom and a mom who, does this for a living, I would say. It is hard because I know so many different things that either could help or couldn't help and could, it's hard to then say, stop thinking, stop it, and just go, okay, I feel like I want to rock right now. Yeah. I might look silly, but I don't care. I'm going to do it. So yeah, it is. Just absolutely magical.
So I want to talk about the inspiration that you experienced during the pregnancy. Because you had a lot of big time inspiration and you developed a whole pelvic maternal health program during your own pregnancy.
I did. Not that it wasn't enough to have a 3-year-old and be pregnant and own my own practice. I decided to create an online program. So I was inspired to essentially use my own pregnancy as my board of getting the information out there to other moms, expecting and new moms, of how they can serve themselves and really have an awesome pelvic health. So I dove in headfirst and created instructional and exercise videos, and then a whole bunch of instructional handouts and worksheets, all on pelvic health through each trimester, which includes the 4th trimester, ladies, and on how to balance your body to really have an awesome pelvic health for years and years and years to come, because our pregnancies and our births and our postpartums, they affect us long into our motherhood. And now is the time to get that work in. So yeah, I created that for other moms.
It's so magical, and your program is absolutely stunning. It's phenomenal, and I think what a special co-creation that you and Liam created this together while he was within your body. You guys were co-creating. Like, it's so cool to have that experience and then share that experience out there with the world. I'm fascinated by
Yeah, he's my little assistant.
that.
And he even comes with me to my patients' houses now and inspires them if they are pregnant, and just makes the new moms who have their babes laugh and are in awe if their babes are younger than him, to be kind of excited to what their babies are going to be like soon, or just laugh because their babies might be older than him now, and they go, oh, I remember. So it's fun. Yeah, he's my little assistant, and it's super fun to be able to share this experience with him as well as my daughter, because I started my practice, my local practice, when she was only she was 6 months old when I started my website. And so they both were kind of my inspiration to get off on my own and really help other moms.
This idea, it's just coming to me now, and you're not going to be surprised when you hear this come out of my mouth. This idea, though, of co-creating with the babies when they're in the womb, and also co-creating with the children, like you're embodying that. Have you thought about that in like the great magnitude of what it means? You're co-creating with these little beings, like it's soul to soul.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter is such a curious soul, and she asks so many questions, and I'm so grateful that she does, even the hard questions, because I know that she will grow up to continue to be curious and also just be respectful of her own body and other people's bodies, and she is not afraid to share. And it's totally amazing. And then to be able to raise a son the same way, I think is just so important, especially in today's day and age, that I'm really grateful to be able to do that and have kiddos who are willing to go along the ride with me. It's astounding.
Oof, I have chills all over. I love that. All right, so I want to bullet point a few questions here.
Sure.
So we can just kind of rapid fire these. First up, is pelvic health just for women?
No. So when I first started off in my career, I saw everyone, including men. So no, because we all have pelvises and we all have issues in our pelvis. So pelvic health starts from infancy, really. It starts from the womb with gut health, but it starts in infancy and goes until we are no longer on earth. So it is for everyone.
Yes. Okay. So what are the key pointers? Everyone should really be aware of their pelvis, but what are the key pointers that someone needs to seek out support and for pelvic health?
Sure. So I would say that really listen to your body. When something all of a sudden doesn't feel right, then speak up about it. And speak up to anyone, really, even if you don't know who to go to. So main things, if you ever notice anything different with your bladder, so all of a sudden you're starting to go to the bathroom more often, or you're getting up in the middle of the night, or it's painful, or you're starting to pee when you sneeze or cough or laugh or anything like that, none of those things are normal. And that is definitely a red flag for something being up. So go seek help for that. In terms of bowels, again, if you are not going frequent enough, if you are having pain, if you are unable to hold in, then again, not normal, go seek help. In terms of pain, whenever there is pain anywhere in your body, it is a red flag of something is going on. Your body is trying to tell you. So it could be the front of the pelvis, the back of the pelvis. It could be vaginal, rectal, any of that. Abdominal could be coming from the pelvis. Back could be coming from the pelvis. Hip could be coming from the pelvis. Any of that, go seek help. Those be the main things. To go see someone.
So let's talk about sex, another bullet point.
Yes.
Pain during sex, difficulty with, achieving arousal, all of these things can be related to pelvic health, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and totally not normal. And if you're told just keep trying, that's not the right thing to do. It could make it worse. And so painful intercourse or painful pleasure is not normal. So definitely wanting to seek help with that, because it could be lots of different things going on in your pelvis that could be causing it, and there are lots of things to help it. Sex should be pleasurable. End of story.
End of story. Bottom line.
So yeah, I mean, I certainly have lots of patients as new moms who start to have sex again, and it is painful, and they're like, okay, well, I just had a baby, so maybe it should be. No. And it doesn't matter if it's a vaginal birth or a C-section. C-section can cause vaginal pain during intercourse as well. So definitely it's time to stop, do anything that is pleasurable and not painful, but then get some help for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And pelvic health, the great thing about it, the pelvis is full of blood flow. The pelvis is full of nerve endings, right? Which for PTs like you and I, we're like, yes, because those areas are really malleable, which means change is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's, there's so many things that we as PTs can do in terms of the hands-on piece and the instructional piece. But then there's so many things that patients and clients and those seeking help can do for themselves, which is what I love, because then they can really own their own health. And I love seeing the empowerment that I provide my moms, because that's really what it's about. It's being able to hand the baton over to them and say, okay, you've got this. You can do this. Instead of me just continuing to do the work for them. It's so powerful to see that. And yeah, because the pelvis is so ripe for healing, it is a great area to be able to say, okay, you can do these exercises, you can do this, and you're going to see great success with it.
Yeah. So there's so much science behind pelvic health. It's a well studied and well documented field in many ways, between the exercise and also lots and lots of the different treatment techniques, whether they're manual, whether they're weights, whatever, exercise, the whole 9 yards, right? But there's an energetic component as well to what's happening in the pelvis.
Yes.
So you immediately think about, how does this impact, like you keep saying, balance? How does this impact the grounding of the body? And what else is there from that energetic perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we of course have talked about this in the many times, but for women, definitely, our pelvis is our center. It's it's kind of the foundation of our soul is in our pelvis. And when we're stressed out or we just aren't feeling right, a lot of that can show up in our pelvis and vice versa. And so just being able to have the energy source be balanced within our pelvis, then so much more of our quality of life will be balanced.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's many people that I know, not only patients, but who are having pelvic floor issues or pelvic issues. So much of that is energy. And they can work on their physical being and get balance on their physical being, but until they really work on the energetic level too, they sometimes don't actually get the progress that is necessary or what they're seeking. So there's a lot of energy work that is also super important for the pelvis.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Ryan. I think it's really important to consider all aspects tying into, the client being empowered, just like you said, to healing themselves, and specialists out there working as facilitators for that process. And, pelvic health, it feels vulnerable. It feels really vulnerable to talk about that. And I think it's great for someone who might be experiencing pelvic health issues, discomfort, or bladder or bowel problems, to really find someone that you feel like you can talk with, even if it's not a practitioner at first, right? Because just having a voice is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing is that more and more people are talking about it, and it is becoming more visual on social media, and celebrities are talking about it more, and I mean, I certainly don't like the commercials that are like, buy a pad. No, but at least it's getting people to think about it. And yeah, just being able to say, oh, I'm experiencing this, to your friend or to your mom or to your sister, or whomever you feel comfortable saying, I'm experiencing this, to get that weight off, to then go, okay, so what's the next step?
Yeah.
Is great. And I always open up to anyone who wants to just share, and even if they're not local to where I am, I'm here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So Ryan, one more question, because I think it's really important that we cover this. We talked a lot about awareness. We talked a lot about balance. And, some people may not be able to identify exactly what they're feeling, whether it's pain, whether it's discomfort, whether it's something else. They may not even have the vernacular to exactly understand, because we can very easily, our brain can sort of shunt us from feeling something that's uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say would be one way that people could just get tuned into their pelvis so that their pelvis can start communicating back to them, what's up? What's going on?
Yeah, great question. So I think that the first step would be to get into your breath. Our breath is so in tune with what's happening with our pelvis. So what I have a lot of people do is I have them get into a comfortable position, and a lot of times a position that I love for the pelvis is a relaxed bound ankle position, or like a butterfly position, but relaxed into a reclined position. This is great for the pelvis. And then just laying your hands on your pelvis and just trying to get your breath as low into the pelvis as possible. So inhaling, feeling that breath getting down into the pelvis, exhaling, and just allowing the breath to come out and not doing any contractions or anything like that. And feeling where the breath goes. Can you get into your pelvis? Does it feel tight? Do you feel your organs? Do you feel your organs shifting? What's happening with those? Do you feel discomfort when you're breathing? And then what happens when you're exhaling? Do you feel that the muscles are, not moving? Are they just staying put when you're exhaling, and really feeling what's happening with that inhale and exhale, and are you connecting to that area, or is your breath staying away from that area? Because that's a big sign that something's up. So that I always have everyone do that first.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. I recall, and I'm sure you do, the first time that I learned about, I think it might even go by the name of like pelvic floor Qigong or something, or Qigong breathing for the pelvic floor. I don't remember what it's called. It's probably something way cooler than that. But I remember the first time I did that and just being fascinated by how easily tuning into the breath gave me awareness to what was going on lower than my rib cage,
Yeah, absolutely. And so many moms, and I just say moms because I'm so used to saying moms, but it's so counterintuitive to a lot of people, because they think, oh, well, I inhale, I should be sucking in. And when I'm exhaling, everything should be kind of letting go. It's like, that's actually the opposite of what our body wants to do. And so it's a lot of retraining to find what the body wants to do again. So yeah, I call it core breath. I think a lot of people call it core breath. But it's amazing once you start to kind of tune into what's happening below the ribs, and below the belly, to what could really be happening.
Yeah. Wonderful. So Ryan, if people want to get in touch with you, your website is expectingpelvichealth.com, spelled just like it sounds. And your email address is there, your Instagram, your Facebook, all your videos, everything is available. Your online program is available worldwide, right? Which is great. And then you do sessions.
Yes, it is.
Locally on the Seacoast.
I do. Yeah. I see my expecting and new moms locally. I visit their homes, which I love doing because I can be so much more functional then. And they also then don't have to get out and about.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ryan Bailey, for being with us today on the Be Purely Balanced podcast.